With Amex Gold, you can experience the gold standard. You get access to exceptional dining, plus 4 times membership rewards points on eligible dining purchases. That's the powerful backing of American Express. Terms apply. Cap applies. Learn more at americanexpress.com/withAmex.
What's new from Apple? There's the new iPhone 16 Pro, built for Apple Intelligence. And it comes with the all-new camera control, giving you an easier way to quickly access your camera tools. The new Apple Watch Series 10 has our biggest display and our thinnest design ever. And this? It's the sound of active noise cancellation, now available on one of 2 new AirPods 4 models. So quiet. Check out all of the new products and new features at apple.com. You can even buy yourself something new. See apple.com for product availability updates. Apple Intelligence coming this fall.
Okay. As I said, this is going to be kind of a weirder episode. I do think it's going to be a weirder episode because it's me genuinely talking into a microphone. So, I'm not feeling the best, so let me apologize about that. That mic arm will be up, so hopefully next week we can have a smoother transition. But what can I say? I think first, let me say welcome to the King CJ Music Podcast. But let's also be clear and let's talk about this conversation. The conversation that we're going to talk about today, right? The conversation in which this kind of started was because Wayne wanted to do the halftime show performance, and I think this is a fair quote, right? And so the issue, especially a lot of people are having, and I understand this. So welcome to the King CJ Music Podcast. We're going to talk about a lot of things, pop culture and all of that, but let's focus on this culture aspect, right? Because I think this culture aspect is something I do find interesting. However, we're having these conversations around culture, and this was like a topic for like 3 months of Drake not being part of the culture. So, Elliott Wilson confirmed that Drake did turn down two Super Bowl performances, which is I would like this. If you were to give me a source and say Elliott Wilson, Elliott decided to confirm the information because he's worked with Hove very efficiently. So if you ask me to verify a source, I'm gonna go with Elliott every single time. That's a bias that I do have towards like the NFL and how does things go. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's talk about the real conversation. And the real conversation is Wayne performing at the Super Bowl. And so let me preface this by saying I do have a extremely huge bias to this conversation because I do think performance-wise, and I went to a Lil Wayne concert in 2017, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed like him jumping around the stage and giving energy. So I understand that aspect of it, but I also understand like the Kendrick aspect of it because I had friends that went to like Kendrick concerts and said it's a whole production, right? But the conversation, I think, it stems on the event because and so this is kind of the conversation. People that aren't interested in the football, you have to kind of sell them on this idea of this $5,500 ticket for the Super Bowl, and it can go up from there. And I think the issue is this. I think the issue is that when it comes to New Orleans, it seems for a lot of artists, especially Lil Wayne, but also other artists, that you'll bring talent into New Orleans, but you'll never give New Orleans talent their representation. For example, BG, C Murder, Snoop Dogg, they were all on No Limit versus Cash Money, right? And it's Master's P's like label is No Limit, and then you have Birdman, which is Cash Money, and it triples down like that. And the idea, and I can entirely understand. I think this is the thing. If you're gonna host a big event in New Orleans, right, Louisiana, New Orleans, or however you want to do this, right? I think the conversation has to involve Lil Wayne. I think it's weird to me because I think either you go Boosie, you go Lil Wayne, right? Because out of those three, I think those make the most obvious cases for who should be performing at like a big event. I think Wheezy Festival is I think Wheezy Festival is a prime example where he brings other smaller artists from Louisiana and puts them on a show because they're under his label, and it's a blast. People love it. He streams it for free on his IG, right? Like it's in itself, it's one of the most remarkable, like, it's like OVO or Dreamville Fest, which I'm going to OVO at one time, and I'm going to Dreamville Fest at one point in my life. But it's just an experience of, like, no other, right? And it's because you get these MCs that lyrically, and they do this. And I think, and I get this, right? Because there are, like, Jay Electronica, I get it, because Jay Electronica had issues with beef with Kendrick, so when him saying that he thinks Kendrick, he says in a weird way, don't get mad at like Jay-Z, because I don't understand this concept of Jay-Z being like who people look up for in the NFL when it relates to hip-hop, right? And so that's, I mean, I get it, because they're like, hey, Jay-Z's in power, in the position to do this, and that's fine, I think, but like at a certain point, I think you run the risk, because and people are saying that Lil Wayne, it's weird. Like, I get it. People are saying, well, Jay-Z's biased to Wayne because they had that little falling out, and so he did with Nas, and that's fine. I get that. But like, I think this is the issue with a lot of people that are Wayne fans. I think the issue is, and me included, I think the issue is if you go and pick, hey, we want somebody that can bring a lot of artists together and have like a celebrational Super Bowl. I think it's hard to go and say, I don't put Lil Wayne in that situation, right? And because the reason I say you don't put Lil Wayne in that situation is because Wayne has done songs with Bruno Mars, Nicki Minaj, Lil Wayne, Adam Levine. Like, he's done so much. He's done with Kendrick. He's done with so many artists that I think to go and not give Lil Wayne his credit of going, hey, no, you've done a lot for the culture, let's do this. Lil Wayne, at the same time, has redone songs better than the original. He did Panda better than the original, right? So it's this conversation of, if we're going to be honest, who should be the headliner for, like, the halftime show performance? I think a lot of people's minds go to Lil Wayne, because while him and Drake have a large catalog, let's not get that twisted. Believe me, BB King freestyle, he was even on. Like, this is the thing. I think if we look at the whole aspect of things, Lil Wayne has songs with Kanye, Eminem, Big Sean, J-Rock, and I think YG calling for it earlier in the year, DMX. It's just. It would be weird because you have T-Pain, you have Jay-Z, you have Babyface, you have so many people, you have, Shock Major, but RB Shock Major. You have so many people, Busta Rhymes, it's just Robin Thicke, like, the list goes on, and we're not even halfway through. We got that 2 Chainz album that came out with Lil Wayne. You got Drake, you got Juicy J, you got Trina. You got so many people that you could add to this roster of people. Jack Harlow. There's so many people that Wayne, XXXTentacion, but he's dead, RIP him, and that's his daughter, Snoop Dogg. I think this is the issue that a lot of people are having. I think if you want a headline from New Orleans, there's no way you don't get Lil Wayne, because you get different aspects. We could get Bruno Mars at a live halftime show, and that sounds crazy to me, right? Because you don't know who he's pulling out, right? And that in itself would be amazing, just as a headliner in itself, because you know the list of people that would be on that stage is amazing. This could potentially lead to the Carter 6. Right? There's so much stuff that this could lead up to that I would enjoy it. Eminem, you know, the amount of representation that would be on this stage, I think, with Wayne being a headliner, is amazing. You know, we could get a second line. We could get so much stuff. We could get features with Boozy. We could get so much from, like, a Lil Wayne experience at a halftime show that I think a lot of people are upset. Now, to be fair, there have been rumors multiple times, of where people are worried about mental health. And I think that's a fair assumption to make, because he got off the lean and people are saying he's getting he's gaining body weight or mass, right? And people don't like the WrestleMania event that he did. And I think this is the other argument I have for it. A lot of Lil Wayne's songs have curse words in them, but he does have clean versions of these songs. I don't listen to him, but you know, he has clean versions of these songs, and I truly do. I do understand why I'm like, hey, if you're gonna get anybody, Wayne. And so it's a conversation that needs to be had, and I get that aspect of it, right? And so I get it. But this is the issue. I think Wayne is a legend in himself. But also when his Kendrick has noted and said that Lil Wayne is a legend, and so it's like, hey, you had the opportunity and you're not going to bring your legend. This is the thing, though, in all transparency. People do like the way that Kendrick puts on a show. Right? And I think that's interesting. My only critique about this situation is that if you're not a Kendrick fan, and we're kind of seeing that now. He dropped a song, and a lot of people are saying that it's not good. It's because a lot of people, and a lot of the media included, has said that Kendrick wasn't really winning the war in a rap versus Drake, and this is the same comparison. The same comparison is that, like, we love artists that, like, talk about conscious situations, like J. Cole, but he makes fun and puts his own twist on it. Right? He's a great storyteller. Bryson Tiller is another great example of this situation of storytellers that are great at what they do. We have KRS-One, Black Thought, Jadakiss, that are great at just being extremely lyrical, throwing facts out, and you'll be great at it. Nas, him and Hit Boy, amazing work at what they have done. They keep it lyrical, they keep it funny. They have a few songs on that album that are kind of just uplifting. Like Future can do it. We've seen artists do it. We've seen Drake do it. The conversation around Kendrick stems from this. Besides Swimming Pool, a lot of people know Section 80, but they don't know songs off of Section 80, like Untitled, right? Like, they don't know that off the top of their heads. And they're like, we don't want you to play Not Like Us 20 times at the Super Bowl. Because Kendrick's only song that the mass public liked is Not Like Us. Not Like Us did globally better numbers than his other songs because it's a more upbeat, light song. So people like it more. And if you're not a Kendrick fan, a lot of people are just saying they don't think they just don't necessarily think that it's a great choice. Now, he's a great choice. I think if you want production, I think you can find a few people that do it better. But like on a global scale at this moment, I think you do it. Right? And I think it's weird to me because I think this is the thing. Culturally, I think Not Like Us might have been one of the biggest songs this summer. But at the same time, a lot of people, if you're not a Kendrick fan and you're like a Black Thought fan, if you're this, or you're not a J Electronica fan, you're like, okay, but besides Not Like Us, because Euphoria wasn't received, Euphoria received well, but Not Like Us. A lot of his Meet the Grams is like, it's one of like the best like songs, but it's so dark because of the Alchemist beat, right? And if you don't know what the Alchemist is, that track kind of like overplays you, right? Like if you don't know what the Alchemist is, that song is just, it's something that you just don't like. It's too dark. And so people are like, what are we gonna play from Kendrick's? And Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, while it is his biggest album, globally, not a lot of people were like, hey, you know what, that's the best album of the year. So it's this conversation of what is Kendrick gonna play, right? Because he does have features. He does have features, right? Will we finally get that Black Friday album from him and J. Cole to be officially released? Right? Because he doesn't have songs that like you want to listen to a lot of people. He makes a lot of conscious music that people want to listen to, but there's times when you want to listen to conscious music constantly. But the Super Bowl isn't kind of that moment. It's never been that moment where people are like, hey, I want to listen to conscious rap on a main stage. which is interesting because Kendrick also said he didn't like the fame. He doesn't want to deal with the fame that Drake has, which is interesting because in that song it kind of preferences like, you don't want the fame, and Drake was taking the fame, so who's going to take the fame? J. Cole? But J. Cole has literally biked around New York with no security. So this is the conversation, and this is why that Big Three was in structure. The conversation is, though, what exactly will he perform? Because besides Not Like Us, a lot of people liked Euphoria during the time, but they're not liking Euphoria now because they're like, if I'm going to listen to conscious rap, I'm going to go listen to NF. I'm going to go listen to Logic. I'm going to listen to Hopkins. I'm going to go listen. There's so many people that listen to conscious rap. They just don't listen to Kendrick. So it's like, what are we going to do? What is he going to perform? Who is he going to include? It's weird, right? It's weird. I get it. He has one of the best productions. But to a mass media, the Super Bowl was supposed to put a bigger light on people and a culture, and it's hard to say because The Weeknd did amazing numbers. Beyonce did amazing numbers for culture and stuff like that. The Weeknd did the same thing. The issue is, though, what is Kendrick gonna do? So if he puts out an album, that'll be dope. I just don't think in the current time I'm looking at, this timetable I'm looking at, he doesn't put out an album, and just so we go into the Super Bowl with Not Like Us. And so, what do we perform? Not Like Us? Because a lot of people, that's what they want them to perform. If it's Not Like Us, they don't really care. So it's like you put them in a weird spot, right? But at the same time, we have to talk about, and I think the most interesting aspect of this, and the most interesting aspect of this, ironically, is this idea that he was picked because it's weird. I've been talking about this, and so when I was talking about this originally, I've had hourly long conversations about this, and the conversations come back to image, right? Lil Wayne in himself has not had the best image nationally, right? It's weird because Wayne's huge, but for most of Wayne's career, he's copied. He's taken innovations and switched his style. And a lot of rappers say, without Wayne, I wouldn't be in this position, right? So it's interesting to look at, to go, hey, this is one of the biggest Super Bowl in New Orleans is a topic, but we don't want Wayne because he's not marketable. But the culture's been saying for months how Lil Wayne should do this. Lil Wayne should do it. Even when he was on the YG podcast, he was on the YG, and they were telling him, tell him you should own it. If you're gonna do it, just let us know because we think you should. Right, and that's the thing. It's never been based on location, but a lot of people were saying, if it's based in New Orleans, Lil Wayne has to do it. And so you had that push for a lot of people. A lot of people were like, "Hey, if Wayne does it, I'm going." Granted, I was on the edge of it. I mean, it is a lot of money. $5,500 is a lot of money for a halftime show concert, and essentially, right? But I mean, people would probably spend that money to go see Lil Wayne. But his image is he's been on lean a lot of times. He's been doing drugs, while Kendrick has this persona of being the boogeyman and coming out whenever time he drops. But it's always hey, I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna be real, I'm gonna be clean with it. And comparing those two images, I think the image was the issue. I don't think hits was the issue because people saying he has hits, but if you're not a Kendrick fan, if you like conscious rap from NF, if you like conscious rap from Logic, if you like conscious rap from Eminem, if you like the battle rap scene, it's just the issue of what is he gonna perform. No one cares about this, but I think people want to know who you're gonna perform. Usher about Her, Alicia Keys. And it's just interesting when a person has a lot of features because they can do and experiment a little bit. Kendrick doesn't kind of have that, and so it's who do you bring out? Right? Because I assume you're saying this is a big stuff for hip hop to have a solo headliner, but at that same time, how do you convince people, hey, we made the right decision here going with this artist? It's interesting, though. It really is interesting. Because I think from a perspective, you go, yeah, that makes sense. But why? Like, I don't know. It's weird. Because I come back to the image. I think the image is that Wayne has been on drugs for a little bit. Wayne's done this. Wayne's done this. And so, most of his music, and he says he doesn't remember, but a lot of people say at the same time, he doesn't reliably show up to, like, rehearsals and stuff. Which I think is interesting. But I think you get enough people up there, you can kind of, like, get Lil Wayne to go off the dome. And if you don't know what the dome is, it's basically freestyling. And I think that in itself would be amazing. And as I said, I am biased on this opinion because I just believe, you know, there are a lot of people. The track list of people that Lil Wayne could bring would be, like, crazy. So I think that's what it is. I think Kendrick Lamar has the cleaner image currently. But I don't know, and as Lil Wayne said, he's going to make it undeniable, but they just announced it. Like, if he had dropped an album earlier this summer, it'd be undeniable, right? So it's this question. And the question is, they're like, well, if he might bring Lil Wayne out. And I'm like, that makes sense. He might bring Lil Wayne out, but this beef kind of messed this situation up. If this beef wasn't messed up, he could do, he could mitigate with Drake, so Lil Wayne could do that. And so Lil Wayne could do that, Drake could do that, and they could perform all their songs together, which I think would be great. However, the beef's kind of skewed that, right? And so it's interesting to me because I think you get Drake, Kendrick Lamar, Future, and Lil Wayne on one stage. That does numbers. But you put like half of these people on stage, and I'm like, this is concerning. Because I don't know if he has the music. I just don't think he has the most popular music to go that long. And so, like, I kind of have to, like, amend, because I do think if you put J Electronica, I think if you put, and it's not me being a hater, I think Kendrick won the beef. I think he won round one. I'm gonna say round one, but it's not by a large margin to me. He won. But I don't know what was the final cost, right? Like, I don't know what the final cost is. And so, looking at the numbers, I don't know. Like, you have to make a selling point for $5,500. That's the minimum. We're gonna assume that's the minimum. Why would I come? Why would I watch the TV? And I think that's the conversation. It might connect with a lot of people, but I don't think you connect with them, like the millions and numbers of people that will watch it. I just don't think, and I think we wonder, I do wonder this, and I'm still thinking this. I wonder if the streaming market has, like, inflated people's numbers to where they think they can do shows and they cannot, which is concerning in itself. But as I said, I don't know. I think Wayne was a good option. I do. Without a doubt, I think Wayne would have been a good option. But I don't know. I don't know, because I think if you want somebody to share that culture, and if we're not culture, like, blocking, which a lot of people, like, we should culture block as people do it. But if we're not culture blocking, I think Wayne might have been the obvious choice. I don't know. Like, obviously, I don't know. They could change their mind. But I don't know how that decision was laid out. So, like, this is the conversation I'm having with myself, but I genuinely do not know. I think if you ask me who would you prefer, I don't know. It's weird to me, right? Because I think you get Anderson .Paak on, like, on a Lil Wayne song. You get a lot of this. It's weird because people like, he's my inspiration, and I'm like, if he's your inspiration, New Orleans, Lil Wayne, you know, that in itself, I mean, that might actually make me go to New Orleans. Like, it's interesting because I'd go to New Orleans if J. Cole did it, but, like, I don't think J. Cole will ever do it. I guess I don't necessarily know. I think the conversation is, who do we think is gonna do it, and would they do it? And I just don't know. I mean, Kendrick has good songs, but I don't know how many people are going to put up with conscious rap for, like, I don't know, it's probably for, like, an hour, but, like, I don't know who's going to do it. I don't know. Right? And we obviously will not know until, like, the final results are, like, casted and then. But, I don't know, this will be interesting. I think this is. I'm not gonna take away from the moment. I think Kendrick deserves it.
Earning your degree online doesn't mean you have to go about it alone. At Capella University, we're here to support you when you're ready. From enrollment counselors who get to know you and your goals, to academic coaches who can help you form a plan to stay on track. We care about your success and are dedicated to helping you pursue your goals. Going back to school is a big step, but having support at every step of your academic journey can make a big difference. Imagine your future differently at capella.edu.
This episode is brought to you by Tinder. Meet cutes happen every day on Tinder, just not like they do in the movies.
Hey, nice motorcycle. Do you have room for a +1?
I thought you'd never ask.
No matter how your journey starts, if you take a chance on romance, you may join the millions of relationships that started thanks to Tinder, like the one you just heard. Explore all the possibilities for yourself. Tinder. It starts with a swipe. Download Tinder today.
But I think he deserves it. I think we needed a solo artist in hip hop to do it. I think we needed another artist in hip hop to do it. I just think that hip hop artist would be better decided if we went to Los Angeles, right? And I think it's like, it's weird if we went to Los Angeles and then we did the bit as hip hop artists and then we went to New York or somewhere. Maybe like if we went east or west coast, then maybe. But like I don't know. I think a lot of people rep New Orleans. I think Louisiana Festival, like Wayne, Boosie. You get like a lot of people, but like I don't, cause I would like, and so I just me personally, like I would love to see like C Murder, Snoop Dogg, them all come out right under Master P, and just have fun. Like that'll be competitive. That'll be interesting. That'll be fun. I don't know. And people are like, well, Maroon 5 in Atlanta is the issue. But, like, at the time, Maroon 5 was doing amazing. Like, they were doing amazing at the time, which would mean Kendrick would have to do the Super Bowl in New Orleans, which I mean, I get, sure. But, like, it brings into question when people go, hey, this is the issue. This is the issue. When people go, hey, no, you gotta have, when people were telling Drake, you gotta have a home base. If you don't have a home base in the States, then you'll never be like Kendrick has this and Drake and J. Cole has this and Drake doesn't have this at all. But the question is this then, if that doesn't matter, and I mean sure, that doesn't matter, like quick location doesn't matter, but then we gotta stop saying that Kendrick owns this coast, J. Cole owns this coast, Jay-Z owns New York. It's weird, like, cause it's like they're from New York, but they don't necessarily like represent New York. Like this is the thing. You see? Because people are like, oh, you got to check in to come to New York because Jay-Z's the best. Or you can't come to California because Dre, Kendrick, Snoop. Like, it's interesting. It's just interesting, right? Because in that perspective of, oh, you got a fan base here, then you can only perform. Like, that person owns that fan base. Owns that part of, like, state. And it's weird because it's only a state question. It's not like a global question. It's a states question, which is weird because the states only like are like collectively like at a certain point when like it's like the Olympics. It's not like this. I don't know how this brought like the states together. Like, oh, Wayne should do this, or that should do this. It's more like coast. It's like the coast are debating who should do what. And it's weird because when you go to New Orleans, I just consciously think Boosie, Lil Wayne. Boosie won't do it, so it's just like Lil Wayne. Like it's just interesting. I don't know. I think this debate's probably gonna go on a little bit more, and that's solely because I think the conversation becomes then why do we care so much about who owns what coast? But hip hop cares about it so much, but you're gonna let some. It's a weird recommendation. I would love to see Kendrick do it. I just don't know if he will, right? Like, he does it. Okay, sure. But I don't know. Like, I genuinely do not know. I don't know. Because Mardi Gras will be right around the corner. It'll be interesting. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I just want to know, who would you prefer? Do you prefer Lil Wayne or Kendrick? It'll be a poll if you're on Spotify, but that is a question I do have.